Speaking with our special guest who is standing by to join us live from Abuja. Well, he is the Honorable Minister of Interior. That's Honorable Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, and he joins us live. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the program. First and foremost, let's ask, how are you settling down to office? It's just about a few weeks since you assumed office as Nigeria's Minister of Interior, and you've made a lot of impact already, but how has it been for you in the last few weeks?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And thanks for the opportunity of being on this program. And may I also say good evening, Nigerians. Well, it's been very exciting, and let me seize this opportunity to thank the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for this unique opportunity of service, of contributing our own quota to national development. It's been very exciting. It's been challenging. It's been very engaging. You know, looking at all the problems, looking at the status of the ministry, all the agencies, all the parastatals, and stock taking, and trying to create our roadmap and to hit the ground running. It's been very encouraging, and I'm very sure that Nigerians in the next couple of weeks to months will start seeing the results of the effort that we're trying to put in under the leadership of the President. He has given us a marching order, and the order is very straight, no excuses. He told us point blank, he didn't appoint us to give Nigerians excuses, he appointed us to give results. And by the grace of God, results we shall give to Nigerians in line with the renewed hope agenda of the President and the present administration.
All right, Honorable Minister, let's get into the conversation. Many Nigerians are yearning for us to ask you this question. The long wait for passports. You once said it is unacceptable for Nigerians to wait for months to get a passport, which should be their entitlement. You are now in charge of that affair now. Getting an appointment for biometrics, capturing at the passport office takes months for many, before now. But what have you identified as the challenges, and how are you hoping to fix this as Nigeria's Minister of Interior?
Okay, thank you. We've had quite engaging sessions with Nigerian Immigration Service, with the ministry. We've had about 2-3 meetings. We've had meetings with some of our service providers. We've identified some bottlenecks, and we are presently working on sorting out those bottlenecks. I will assure you that one of the problems we have, obviously we spoke about the booklets, scarcity of booklets. We also spoke about the timeline for biometrics, as you have rightly said. And we are in the process of decentralizing that particular process and looking at having passport front offices such that you don't really need to travel, because this is 2023, for crying out loud. This is not 2021. I see no reason why someone needs to travel. I'll use my state as an example. Why do you need to travel from Akoko, where I come from, to Akure, all because you want a passport? You know, there are solutions we are bringing on board to bring these services, these biometric centers closer to the people and decentralize the whole process. Once that is done, automatically we believe that we'll be able to solve the queuing period and the waiting period needed to do the biometrics. That's one. And also, we're also looking at the area of supply of booklets and to, centers, and increasing our number of production centers. We're looking at that option too, of how we will need to solve that. The bottom line is we're looking at a timeline of 2 weeks. In the interim, Nigerians shouldn't wait for more than 2 weeks before getting their passport. I said it when I went to immigration. It is unacceptable. You cannot make a right look like a privilege. It is unacceptable, and I stand by that, and I have told them that. And you can be rest assured that we are working around the clock, and we have also, as I said earlier, we've met with some of our service providers, and we've told them point blank that you have an agreement with the federal government for so number of years does not translate into automatic continuation of the agreement. For every agreement, there has to be performance before consideration. So if you are a service provider and you are not performing, in line with the requirement of the agreement or in line with the yearnings of Nigerians, then we'll have no choice but to terminate such agreement and look for people that are ready to do the job. And also, we're also looking at convergence of services. The number of service providers that we have, it's so much. And we need to be able to converge our services and be able to know at every point in time who is responsible for what. When there are tasks, when there are responsibilities, and there are not clear-cut, there's no clear-cut accountability, then abuse becomes unavoidable. So we are looking at all these things, and also we're also looking at how to reduce the human factor. That means the interaction of Nigerians with even public officers. Nigerians should be able to do their passport, the whole passport process, with very minimal interaction, physical interaction with passport officers, with immigration officers, or with. We have to look at this, the era of technology. We have to use technology, and we are working seriously on it. And I'm very sure that in the next couple of 1-2 weeks, there will be some changes, and there will be some guidelines that will come out. And of course, we have told immigration, even immigration officers, there has to be penalty for people who deliberately sabotage the process. We will not allow sabotage. We will not allow anybody to sabotage the whole process of passport system, because so many people just want to sabotage because they want to collect money, because of illicit dealings, because of, there are a lot of things going on. And I assure you, it's not going to be the same old story. We are not just ready to back, we are ready to bite. The president is passionate about this. He's so concerned about it. Why Nigerians would, he's so concerned that Nigerians should be treated with utmost respect. Nigerians should be able to see a right as a right, not as a privilege. He's so concerned, he's so bothered that this situation cannot continue like this. And in the long run, we're also looking at the issue of domestication of the production of passport booklets. We have to look at that. How do we domesticate this production? How do we ensure that our passport booklets are printed in Nigeria for Nigerians, and probably even for export to other West African countries and beyond? We have to reduce the pressure on our naira. We have to reduce a lot of pressure. We have to be in control of our security document, which is the passport. So we're looking at the area of domestication in not too long a time to come. So these are some of the initiatives that we have, and I assure you, it's not going to be business as usual. We are here to make a difference in line with the directive of Mr. President. He has given us a marching order, and he has told me point blank, and all ministers, he's not going to take an excuse. There's no point for an excuse. We are here. He wants to deliver. He is ready to deliver. He's hell-bent on delivering on the renewed hope agenda. And we have said nobody will be a clog in the wheel of progress of this administration.
Honorable Minister, we must really commend you for your knowledge of the challenges within few weeks in office. I must say I'm actually blown away at the way you dealt with that question, pointing out the issues, and at the same time preferring a solution while putting a timeline. But the next question will come from my colleague on the set, of course, Mojid, who has a question, of course, around activities within your ministry.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Minister. I actually watched your interaction with the leaders of the departments under the ministry, fire, immigration, and the NSCDC, the correctional services, when you assumed office. And I must say I commend your passion and the way you are so passionate, especially about the issue of passports, which bothers a lot of Nigerians. And I'm still going to be on that point. And my question is, how can 4 passport offices, Ikoyi, Satellite Town, Alausa, and Alimosho, serve 22 million people in Lagos? You have addressed that, but we want solutions that can start happening, because building more passport offices might take time, but we want low-hanging fruits that you can give us. That's number one. In Abuja, for example, there are just 2 for about 3.8 million people, or 4 for almost 22 million people in Lagos. And you see, there are some characters in those offices. They behave as if they are doing you a favor. as if we are not paying for this service, as if it's not our privilege. The way they treat Nigerians when you go to their office, as if we mean nothing. And I think you need to make some of them scapegoats. The acting Comptroller General of Immigration, Mrs. Wurala, she's doing her best, but a lot of people are sabotaging her. And I love the way you spoke about it. There will be no sacred cow, sir. How do you want to do this so that we can start feeling this impact? Nigerians are really suffering, especially with passport collection renewal.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your deep knowledge of the whole process. I have to tell you this very clearly. We've gone through the whole process, and one that baffles me, as you rightly said, is when people treat you, with disrepute, with disrespect. And I have said this very clearly. That's a case of double jeopardy, because they are salary earners. They are being paid based on, with taxpayers' money. So that's number one. Then number two, it's your fundamental right. It's your right, so it's not a favor. And I want to assure you, it's not going to be business as usual. When I say it's not going to be business as usual, I mean it's definitely not going to be business as usual. Because part of what we have tried, part of what we are doing now is that we are opening what they call a page, on our website now. We are creating a page at the moment. I believe in the next 2 weeks it should be up. And we're also trying to, within the next couple of days, the social media handle on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook will be up. And what it means basically is that any Nigerian, if you apply for your passport, and it goes beyond 2 weeks, 2 weeks, I say, beyond 2 weeks, before your passport is issued to you, you can send us your enrollment number and the specific passport office. And there are officers now that will be delegated to that particular responsibility. And when we see any staff that is culpable, I assure you, there won't be any sacred cow. There won't be anyone, because there must be repercussions for actions. People must know that we are a country of laws. We are not in the banana republic. And I want to assure you, by the grace of God, in line with the renewable agenda of Mr. President, you can be rest assured that we have taken up this task of solving this problem once and for all, and we will definitely solve it, both in the short term and in the long term. In the short term, expanding our passport offices. We don't need to build passport offices. That's what I've always said. All we need to do is it's just about infrastructure. It's about the biometric machines. It's about the scanners. It's about the fingerprint scanners. These are the things that we need. It's not. We don't need huge structure. There could be we could go into partnership. There are so many options, even with post offices, options with even some banks, a lot of different options to decentralize enrollment centers. What is important is for people to be able to be captured, to be enrolled. You don't need to go to that immigration center. So there are a lot of partnerships that we are looking at in order to make these enrollment centers closer to the people. That is number one. Then number two, in the long term, we must also look at, as I said, even domestication of printing of passport booklets. It's a huge responsibility. We cannot be a country of over 200 million people, and we are not producing our own passport booklets. The president is passionate about this. He has said that an aberration has stayed for so long a period does not make it normal. An abnormal situation over time doesn't turn to normalcy. The president is ready to make sure that he corrects this abnormalities. So there are a lot of things in the short term, in the mid term, in the long term that we are actually looking at. And I assure you, for our people in Lagos, for Port Harcourt, for those areas that are densely populated, in line with the population and the request that we receive from those areas, we determine the number of passport front offices that we are going to open. We are going to expand. We are going to bring these enrollment centers closer to the people. People don't need to, not just for them to queue. People don't need to travel. People don't need to sacrifice their whole day. People don't need to waste their time. People don't need to go through pain for them to be enrolled. It's unacceptable in 2023 For crying out loud, 2023, we have told the immigration side, we are working very closely with them, and I know that they've set up a task force now, and as minister, we are overseeing them, and we are making sure we're working, collaborating with them to make sure that all these bottlenecks are cured. And also, you spoke about disrespect, you spoke about maybe some out of corruption within the process. And I will tell you this, the only way I have always said this is remove the human factor. When you remove the human factor to the barest minimum, it discourages even corruption. It discourages disrespect. So we are going to reduce that to the barest minimum, such that we make use of technology. We make use of technology, especially for those that are trying to renew their passport. They already have your biometrics, for crying out loud. We have told them that. There are so many solutions now. We have what we call contactless biometric. It's a solution that is being used in Europe. It's a solution that is being used in America for people that are trying to do renewal. So there are a lot of solutions that does not even entail you, that does not involve you going physically to centers or going through pain or whatever. So there are a lot of solutions innovations we are trying to bring. But I assure you, we are going to bring in solutions, and these are solutions that Nigerians will be proud of in the next couple of weeks and months, by the grace of God.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you so much, Honorable Minister. The next question will come from Tunde Abato, who is also here on set with us.
Yep, Honorable Minister, I quite appreciate your deep understanding of the fundamental problems of immigration in Nigeria. But there is no doubt the fact that over the years, the reflection of Nigerians abroad is a function of what happened at home. When you get to most of the embassies abroad and you get complaints from most Nigerians, they also go through hell trying to procure or to renew their passport. When you have to spend about 6 months to renew your passport, gratification is there, graft is there in our foreign missions. It is a reflection of the fact that we cannot solve our domestic problem, and we have transferred our problem, in the corruption in Nigeria, we have transferred it to the foreign embassies. So what are you doing towards making sure you change the work cycle of Nigerians who work in Nigerian missions abroad, who make life difficult for Nigerians? Number two, the fact that, what are you doing to make sure that this digital base that we use in Nigeria, when you get to bank, when you get to NIN, most of this data they ask from you are things that you have supplied in your visa and in your passport. So why can't we synchronize our digital base? When we synchronize it, if I go to the bank now, it doesn't take me 10 or 15 minutes or 30 minutes to have a BVM. Why can't we synchronize all these things so that this thing will be so easy? It's like a cousin of mine came home about 2 weeks ago. He wanted to make a phone call.
We need to let the minister quickly attend to that question.
How do you
Honorable
synchronize
Minister, I'm sure
you
you have a grasp of that question. Why are Nigerians, breaking down the difficulty for Nigerians abroad to renew and synergy between all the other infrastructure that captures data in Nigeria with what the Immigration Service will also be using to process that passport for Nigerians?
Okay, thank you so much. A very detailed question. Both questions are quite detailed, and I appreciate those questions. I think these are questions that Nigerians will be proud to have answers to. Number one, you spoke about Nigerians abroad. I have said the problem with passport issuance abroad is the same thing with the problem with passport issuance here in Nigeria. And don't forget that the immigration officers who interface and interact with Nigerians abroad are also immigration officers. Most of them are sent from here. So obviously, it's a common problem. And I assure you, the solution we're deploying is the same. And we have said this very clearly. There must be a feedback mechanism. When you have a process and there's no feedback, when there is a process and there's no way people can get back to you to tell you what you're doing rightly or wrongly, when there is no process of appraisal, when there is no process of checks and balances, abuse becomes unavoidable. That's just the process. And we assure you we're coming out very soon with our feedback mechanism, whereby Nigerians, either here or in diaspora, will be able to interface with us. And when people are treated, when people are made to be accountable for their actions, I believe it will make others to sit tight. This is not business as usual. This is the realm of renewed hope, and we must make sure that the renewed hope starts from the Ministry of Interior, because take it or leave it, the immigration officers are so important because they are the image makers of Nigeria. As a foreigner, if you're coming to Nigeria, you go for a visa interview abroad or whatever, immigration officers are the first set of people you see, even before seeing any set of Nigerians. So the way they treat you shows a long way, indicates how we are or what we stand for as Nigerians. So it's important that our people understand the meaning of courtesy. They understand that people must be treated with dignity and respect. You know, and as I said, that you are in uniform does not give you the right to abuse the right of an average Nigerian or even a foreigner. You know, so a lot of reforms will be coming. Will be coming up with so many reforms in that aspect. And I assure you that Nigerians will also have a means of feedback, which is very key. So that if there's any passport office where, you weren't treated well or they abuse you or whatever, you have a means of getting back, to us. And I assure you that by the grace of God, we will make sure that there are no sacred cows. Once, for every action, there must be repercussion. Good actions, of course, with good commendations, but with bad actions, there must be repercussions. I can assure you on that. Then secondly, I'm happy that the NIMC, National Identity Management Commission, is now domiciled under the Ministry of Interior. So what this means is that there can be harmonization in terms of what you're talking about. When you look at part of my programs that I listed out, there's something I call single point of contact, SPOC, is what we're actually looking at. And today, myself and the DG NIMC, we had a meeting today where we discussed about harmonization of all identity data, on a single point, such that there is handshake, between Immigration Service, NIMC, the banks, and so that at the end of the day, you don't go to America and have two numbers. Your social security number is your social security number. In UK, your NI number is your NI number. So in Nigeria, your NIN number has to be your NI number. So that's all we need to do is to be able to clean up the database of NIMC and to make sure that we go on aggressive registration drive, make sure we capture as many Nigerians as possible, and be able to have a handshake, between NIMC and other agencies that need biometric or identity data, in Nigeria. By doing this, we'll solve a lot of problems, issues of duplication, issues of even precious times of Nigeria, and even resources of government, wastage of resources will be addressed. So we are looking at providing an SPOC, a single point of contact on data, on identity management, on biometric management, and management of data for Nigerians. We are seriously working on that, and I assure you in no distant time, we will come out fully with our plans, and Nigerians can be sure that this particular administration will unify identity database and provide a single point of contact for solutions in terms of identity in Nigeria.
Honorable Minister, that was a very good submission there on that question, especially the part where you assured Nigerians over and over again that things will be done right. Let's go to Abuja, where Babajide Kolade-Otitoju is standing by to also join the conversation. And BKO, I'm sure you would want to engage the Honorable Minister from your own point of view.
Yes, I have three questions for the Minister. Let me say I'm impressed so far by his quality of erudition and the way he's attended to our questions. I'm sure Nigerians now have an idea of the kind of person that they have as minister. But let's go straight to the three questions that I have for the Minister. The first question is, how do you plan to sanitize and standardize recruitment into the civil defense and immigration? In the past, recruitment into these agencies of government had been characterized by corruption, with people literally paying for slots, and some people who eventually even do well in the tests conducted do not eventually get recruited. We would like to know what you plan to do to sanitize and standardize recruitment into immigration and civil defense. And then prison congestion is a big problem in Nigeria. A lot of our prisons are places that are not correctional in nature because they are dirty. They are places where people shouldn't be kept. What really would you want to do? Would you want to see more modern prisons built? I remember the Senate president, when he was governor of Akwa Ibom State, he built perhaps the most modern prison in the country at that time. How do you intend to deal with the matter of prison congestion? Then, of course, jailbreaks. Jailbreaks are fairly regular in our country, and it's a terrible thing to have people should be in prison roaming our streets. What is the plan? Are you going to be working with the heads of the military, the heads of paramilitary units to secure this prison? Because some of them that are far-flung, some of them that are in semi-urban and even rural areas are liable to be attacked, and some of the prisoners could be freed. So what really do you intend to do about jailbreaks?
I hope you could hear the questions. I'll just quickly recap them for you so that you could get your thoughts up on them. Recruitment process into all the agencies under your ministry, how transparent will they be? When you look at how, shambolic they've been in time past, you would remember the immigration scandal in 2014. And of course, the second question is about prison congestion. What would you do to ensure that the correctional facilities are really correctional facilities and not breeding grounds for new sets of criminals? And finally, BQ asked about jailbreaks, which have been a recurrent issue in the last few years. How will you stem this tide in Nigeria as Nigeria's Minister of Interior?
Okay, thank you so much. I think the first question, if I can get it quite right, you spoke about transparency in the ministry. And the second question, you spoke about the congestion of correctional centers. Then the third one is jailbreak. Am I right? Hello?
Correct, you're correct. That's the questions. You got the questions correctly.
Fantastic. Oh, fantastic. Number one, let me tell you about transparency. I always say this. Nigerians can be guaranteed of transparency in affairs of the Ministry of Interior. I said earlier, it's a new dawn. It's an era of renewed hope. We have a marching order of the president, and we all know who he is. He's a no-nonsense person, and he's a man who gives you all the support to succeed. But he's never, he won't hold it back, when you go astray, to do what is necessary. So followers sometimes are as good as the leader, and I want to assure you, by the grace of God, there will be a lot of transparency in our process. And in terms of immigration, civil defense, the correctional centers, the fire service, there will be a lot of transparency in the process. I think I want to assure Nigerians of that. Our antecedent speaks for us. That's number one. Then number two, about issue of prison congestion of our centers. It's very key. It's part of my agenda. I have to tell you, a scenario where we have over 70%. I don't want to give specific percentage, but from the data I was given, I think it's about 78% of about 78%, but I am sure it's over 70%, even if I'm not sure of the 78 to be precise. But over 70% of our inmates are awaiting trial. That is very unacceptable. We have over 80,000 inmates in Nigeria, and about 70% of them are awaiting trial. So it means that we have to work with Ministry of Justice, we have to work with Legal Aid Council, and we have to work with the Nigerian Correctional Service to be able to look at areas of decongestion in line with the Administration of Criminal Justice System, ACJS. We have to look at how to do that. Then secondly, we must also take advantage of the amendment in the Correctional Service Act, which allows for non-custodial services. With the new act, there are two key responsibilities of the correctional service. We have custodial and non-custodial. But what we have been doing, what we are presently doing in Nigeria is strictly custodial. We're looking at non-custodial as an option as is done abroad. So there are some people that you don't need to put them in correctional centers, that you could give them, you could place them on place trackers on them, anklets and so many other devices to make sure that at least not everybody is put in our correctional center. So we have to look at that option to be able to decongest, because number one, the availability of funds to even take care of this huge number of people, government is a bit stretched. We all know that, So we have to look at that part of the law. How do we take advantage of the law in terms of non-custodial responsibility of the correctional service? How do we take advantage of that for rehabilitation, for reformation and reintegration, of inmates, into the society? Because the way our inmates are in our correctional centers, I went to Kuje, and believe me, yours sincerely, my heart bled, because I saw the facilities. I saw that this is a center built for precisely 520 inmates. Today we have 682. So we have more numbers than the capacity. The correctional center is carrying us. Ditto, same for across board. So we have to look at how do we decongest? How do we make sure that our correctional centers are correctional indeed and are not centers of condemnation? So these are part of the ideas we're working with Nigerian Correctional Service. I've given them a marching order that I want to see their roadmap. I want to see their roadmap for reformation, reintegration, and of course, rebranding of the whole system. We have given them a marching order. They must bring that to us. So we're working on that, and I can assure you in no distant time, we'll come out fully with our work plan. Nigerians will see our work plan, even in terms of Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, because it's their responsibility to protect critical infrastructure, such as even our pipelines, such as mining sites, such as government buildings, and a lot of, we have told them it's their responsibility to even defend and prevent crude oil theft and all this. So I have told them, you need to give me solutions, practical solutions, empirical solutions, not hypothetical. I want empirical solutions. We've given them the standing instruction on that, and I can assure you we'll make these work plans available to Nigerians. Will be as transparent as possible. We will brief our partners in the civil society. We'll brief our partners in the media, and we'll brief our partners, across board as Nigerians, and let them know what we want to do, at what particular time we want to do what we need to do. Nigerians should be able to gauge us in line with our timelines, our key performance indicators. There must be KPIs. People must know what to expect at any particular point in time. We're not here for unpleasant surprises. And I want to assure Nigerians, if we will have surprises, they will definitely be pleasant ones by the grace of God, under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Then you spoke about jailbreak. Well, to the best of my knowledge, from what I've been able to find out, we have not had jailbreak. What we've had is jail attack. There's a difference between jailbreak and jail attack. We've had so many of these our correctional centers because we are live. There are certain security things I cannot disclose, but we are working around the clock to ensure that we cover all those loopholes, and we make sure that what we need to secure our correctional centers are put in place. But some of these methodologies, approach, and solutions are not what we can discuss, on TV. But I can assure you, the president is well determined. He's well determined to make sure that every Nigerian is protected, that all Nigerians can go to bed with their eyes closed, and all Nigerians can have a sense of belonging and know fully well that the biggest asset we have as a people is not in our wealth, not in terms of who we are, but in terms of the fact that we are Nigerians. That's our biggest asset, and it's one we should be proud of, and we are ready to lead from the front. Just as the president is leading from the front, we will lead from the front. We will provide the necessary support that is needed, and we can assure Nigerians that the new dawn, the new era, the new hope is actually here, and we'll do our best to deliver on the mandate of renewed hope under the able leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, by the grace of God.
Honorable Minister, we must really commend you for, an insightful analysis of your ministry. But before we let you go, let me ask one final question. Touching another aspect of your ministry that you've not really mentioned, that's the fire service, the emergency response services. You mentioned briefly about the Civil Defense Corps and about their mandates to protect the pipelines against oil theft and all that. I'm sure that really addressed that, but of course you can still touch on that in responding to these questions. Emergency services in Nigeria, how will you strengthen the fire service in particular to be responsive? We've seen cases where they've been called to emergency situation and they will turn up quite late. What are you going to do about this?
Well, thank you so much. We are presently working on securing a toll-free line. I have told them when I came on board, of course, there's a national emergency line, but we said there must be a toll-free dedicated to the fire service. So the fire service is working very well with Nigerian Communication Commission to secure that. That's number one. Then number two, I've also spoken to them that most of their trucks, most of the fire trucks, the new ones that been purchased, as much as we need more, because fire is one of the biggest emergencies. We have told them they are not meant to be packed, in fire in their offices. We have some densely populated areas. For example, in Lagos, we have some densely populated areas that we need to calculate our radius, know that, okay, how many kilometers apart, be able to have these places stationed, for the purpose of emergency. For example, Balogun Market is an example, when these are economic zones, there are so many economic zones. If we have these solutions decentralize the placement of these trucks, with so that those are they'll become emergency responders, So even when they start that as a first line responder, then other support, can't come. So we're working on that, and we're doing critical analysis across the country, knowing our needs assessment, reducing our timeline, and of course the Fire Service Act has been passed by the National Assembly. It's waiting presidential assent. I'm sure that once that is signed, by the grace of God, it will further empower the fire service to be able to be proactive, to be more proactive, than they are. But the simple truth is, I will also want to use this opportunity to thank our men in uniform. They're doing a lot. Yes, there are some bad eggs, but nevertheless, we have to thank them for the sacrifice to the nation. We have to appreciate them for the risk of life, for the sacrifice they make daily on behalf of Nigerians. This was what I told them when I went on a courtesy visit, to see what they're doing. We must appreciate their little effort to encourage them to do more, to do better. But I can assure you, we will drastically cut down on emergency response time. It's part of our key priorities. We will do that. Then also on the issue of civil defense, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, it's important for us to say that it's a very key agency of government. It's a very key agency of government that can reduce the overstretching of our armed forces.
It's obvious that one episode of this program may not be enough to engage you thoroughly, because you have a very, very deep knowledge of what to do. But we must appreciate your insight and how you've assured Nigerians over and over again during our conversation today. A big thank you to you, and of course, on behalf of the other panelists, we say a big thank you, and we wish you all the very best as you continue to serve the country in your capacity as the Minister of Interior. Gentlemen, we must say a big thank you for being a part of the show, and I'm sure you're also impressed by the Minister's performance.
Quite impressed.
Absolutely. And of course, a big thank you to BKO, of course, who is in Abuja, who also joined the conversation. Thank you, BKO. And of course, I'm sure you have your thoughts about the minister as well. But that's it on the Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11. Join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. And we're on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Emmanuel Akinebua. Big thank you for being a part of the broadcast. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.